Before we jump into the episode, I want to talk to you about Drops and Collect by Soul Savvy. With Drops and Collect, you're able to stay ahead of the game. Using Drops, you can enter raffles and set alerts for any and all restocks, and it will help you never miss a release ever again. And after you cop some fresh kicks, use Collect to manage your collection. I'm still in the process of adding my kicks to Collect. But what's really cool about Collect is you can also make trades with other current users of Collect. And if you're a member, there's no fees. But if you aren't a member, don't worry about it. You just have to pay a flat rate of $8 per trade. Now, how do you get these apps? Just use the links in the description of this podcast. Download these apps and grow your collection by helping this podcast at the same time. That's right. Use the links in the description and start expanding your collection today. Hey, Ricky, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yo,
It's gonna be a
man.
good one.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, I feel like we were following each other for like a long time or something like that. I know. The first time I saw your page, one of your pages was on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh man, this guy's resume is crazy.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, the funny part is like I was actually feeling the other day, like, man, I was like, yo, I'm lacking on the LinkedIn. Like I haven't updated some of the stuff up on there in a little while, but
Mm.
still some solid stuff on there, bro.
No, yeah. I mean, I want to say like it was Jimo Wong's episode. I don't know, my memory's terrible, but it was like I
Mhm.
posted it on LinkedIn, and I think you followed me off of that one or something like that. But it was just like a weird connection. And then uh you posted on Instagram, and I was like, all right, I gotta have you on an episode.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, definitely keep my Instagram a lot more updated, and I'm
Mhm.
normally like, posting a couple times a week with different stuff, depending on how busy we are on projects. But yeah, man, like it's been a blessing to be able to do a lot of the things that I've been able to do and be a part of for sure.
No, yeah. And for people who aren't, for the listeners who aren't familiar with you, how about you introduce yourself and let them know where they can find you too?
Definitely. Ricky Shoebio, Space Camp Fresh on IG, the Big Kids, founder of the Big Kids
Hmm.
agency. For the few people or people, not few people, that may recognize me, not saying like, because
Nah,
everybody's
you
like,
big
yo,
time. You big time.
but I still treat it like, yo, I can walk around in places and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
um, former host of a show on Foot Locker called Live for the Drop. I was the
Hmm.
second host of that. You guys have probably seen a lot of my work for different campaigns, different stores, different brands and stuff throughout different places. So like that's who I am.
Listen, I know people have seen you on the big LED screen on Foot Locker. I mean, not Foot Locker, in 42nd Street, the Foot Locker 42nd Street there. So,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
no,
So like to be able to have projects displayed there nationwide in different forms and different spaces has just been a real blessing. And it's really been something that over the last, I gotta say, year and a half, just like kind of really sank in as far as
Mhm.
like, yo, what we're doing and what we've been able to do and be a part of.
No, yeah. I mean, I was trying to jump on your team just to try to get into that Smino concert because I didn't get a goddamn ticket, and I was so
Um,
upset, man. So that Smino JID concert, I was like, please, Ricky, help me, and you were like, oh, we'll see, and then that was it.
that's yo, yeah, that one was so last minute because it was still up in the air with how there was a few changes on the back end.
Hmm.
Because we came through on the Dreamville side. Shouts to
Hmm.
Dreamville. We got good connections with Dreamville. And there were a few changes on the back end with venue that kind of tightened things up. So I hate to overpromise. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to be like, yo, I got you. And then like it's like, yo, what happened? I thought you had me. And I was like, I thought I had you too. And it's like, yo, Ricky don't
Nah,
be coming through.
nah. It's fine. I was like, you don't even know me. Why am I asking? Like, I was
I,
literally like at the last legs of like, who can I ask to get in this damn concert?
nah, honestly, I'm that type though. To be honest, like, if somebody showed themselves to have good character or to be a certain type of way, I'll look out for sure. I really don't have a problem with that. Like if I can connect the dot and somebody's not being an opportunist or just trying to get a come up, then I'll definitely look out. Like that's how I like to be, and that's what I want from the world. So yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, the art of just helping each other out, it's so lost now. Like, I mean, everybody's cool with like networking and then like,
Yeah,
but it's like, are you playing the room or are you trying to actually get to know somebody and create like an actual connection and connect other people to that and create a network, you know?
that's a big thing, you know. And biggest thing I say is I always look to be a resource, and I want myself and my team to be able to be a resource. And we want to create community and see more people like us, that look like us, that come
Hmm.
from where we're from, in the rooms that are like, you know, in spaces that are playing to what we love. You know, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, the dream to be able to like do your passion and get paid for it, and then
Hmm.
also get your flowers as you're doing it. Not like because like I mean, no, Drink Champs is big on like giving your flowers to the people that are still here, but
Right.
and you don't want to get your flowers at the end, like you just looking down on everybody like, oh, now y'all like me. So yeah, that
That's a
that
huge thing. That's
that
a huge
circulates
thing.
for sure, for sure. Hard pivot, but and people love my
That's all
hard
right.
pivots. but I have to ask you the question that I ask everybody each week that jumps on this podcast, and that is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely needed to have?
So first kicks, probably like, you know, up tempos or pillars. I was a Pacers fan when I was young, so
Hmm.
the pillars, that blue yellow colorway was crazy for me. But the first kick that really, really, really is the one that stood out for me. The first ones I bought with my own money and all this stuff, and said, "Yo, those were the ones I had to have."
Hmm.
Jordan 17, back in 2002, black Jordan 17 when they
Hmm.
dropped. They came in a suitcase. They came with the digital disc with the CD that broke down the shoe and a bunch of information. The marketing and ad campaign had Most Def with Umi Says on it, and it was
Hmm.
just, it was different. Like it's a pair of Jordans in a suitcase, like a literal suitcase. Like, and at that point, we talking about those came out in like '02, and I spent $200 on those in
Right.
'02.
Yeah.
Like, so like that price point for those was different. I mean, it's different now, but then, you know, that's 20 years ago. Like that was the one that changed it and set it all. Like, so for me, from there on, like I'm big on presentation. I'm
Hmm.
big on the craftsmanship of the shoe. I'm big on the technology of the shoe, everything about it.
Yeah, let me give the listeners. I mean, this was also, I want to say, Sean Collard's first shoe, the OG. But released in 2002, the Air Jordan 17 is a sleek colorway with subtle details and supportive qualities, inspired by jazz music and premium materials. The sneaker
Mhm.
boasts a full grain black leather upper with a matching adaptive midfoot strap atop the toggle lacing system. The sneaker also features a foam back lycra collar for added comfort, a TPU heel stabilizer, a blow molded max air unit in the heel for responsive cushioning, and a full length composite shank plate for support. Everybody loves that shank plate.
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
I mean, so the episode before this, me and Dre the shoe guy, we talk about, we think like they're obviously retroing the lows of this next year.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on those.
Yeah. But
I'm
we
on
were
those.
we were talking about like what are the odds that they do bring back the suitcase and when they do the highs again, you know?
I mean, so my thing is like even the lows. So the 17 lows, the lightning lows, which are one of the craziest lows. I had two pairs in my collection
Hmm.
recently, and I had them both crumble on me last year. Um,
Damn. Those things
yeah,
crumble?
they do. Yeah,
Oh
surprisingly,
man.
those crumble. And on foot too, so they looked good. They held perfect. I found them for a solid price, and then I finally went to wear them. I was going out to brunch, middle of the summer. I step out the car, joints just go on me. They get sticky first, and then they
Oof.
crumble. But uh, amazing shoe, and those came back with like dust bags and interchangeable pods. I think was they had for those that had a unique pod that you could change for different performance in the insole or the midsole.
Hmm.
Um, so like that was a real dope shoe. Um, for the low and the high. So I don't know if they'll put the investment into putting the highs back in the suitcase, because then like, you know, it's gonna bring what I would think would be a 250, 260 price point retail now,
Yeah.
minimum, maybe
I mean, I was
275.
thinking I was thinking 400. I was like, maybe this might be 400. If you bring in the suitcase, right? You doing the straight callback. Like you doing
Yeah.
retro.
Yep.
You're like, "Oh, we bringing back the suitcase." I'm saying 400. 350, 400.
Maybe. but I know they may scare a few people off with that. Like, so I think maybe it's the 300 range, like maybe
Hmm.
300 max. Um, just knowing what it was, but even so, in fact, you're getting fours at 220 right now, so you may be right. Maybe 325, 350 for sure.
Yeah, and it's fours like those Lightning fours that just dropped. They had the Jordan logo on the back, so when they drop with the Nike logo on the back, if that does happen, they're gonna be crazy. They're gonna be
Which
like,
would be funny because that was that run when around the time they only had the Jumpman logo on it. So if they put them out there with the air on it and put the
hmm.
original on it, that'll definitely be interesting to see, man, for sure.
No, yeah. But I'm very curious. Like, did you grow up? Where'd you grow up? Because I mean, you said you're a Pacers fan, so did you grow up in
No,
Indiana?
no, hell no. So I'm from Jersey, but all my family's from New York.
Yeah.
Um, and growing up around Knicks fans, I mean, it's kind of like how the Knicks were talking in the playoffs this year. So, growing up
All
around
right,
Knicks
it's been
fans.
been a good time.
I mean, what you want me to say, man? Like growing up around Knicks fans in the '90s was tough. I
Yeah.
mean, every year it's all year we got this, we got that, and Starks is going to do this and this. And I remember being around my family for a get together. I forgot what the case was
Hmm.
when Reggie scored, 8 points in what 13 seconds.
Hmm.
You know, yeah. So he was the only person that hated the Knicks more than I did. From there on, I was a Pacers fan.
Man, I'm glad they suck now. Just for the
Hey, listen,
record.
for the record, yeah, we went a long time with being like a buzzsaw for a lot of teams in the East and all that stuff. And right now, we've seen a lot of better days. It's very, very rough now. We're a very young team with potential, but I don't know if they're going to put it all together.
Man, that Roy Hibbert block still plagues me. Like,
Hey, Melo was the man in New York before that, man. Like y'all would, and not saying not knocking Melo. Melo's been a legend, but like
hmm.
y'all were, trending up, and then ran into the Pacers, and Roy Hibbert just shut it down, man.
Man, I remember that, and I was like, man, like going back to school and the high school, because like my entire high school, as everybody was Knicks fans, like nobody was like, and it was just like we had all the AM New Yorks. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
AM New Yorks. Oh
yeah.
man, it was just littered throughout the whole school, just being like, man, this is trash. I can't believe this.
Different times, man. Different times. Different times.
From there, like, did you go to college and like, oh, well, actually, in high school, did like, because we talk about high school, like, did your sense of style or like, did your love for sneakers just expanded in high school
Oh,
or?
of
Mhm,
course, because those 17s for me were like eighth grade, so that was
mhm,
going into my eighth grade year, buying those. And in high school, like that's really where like I really started to hone and go crazy and spend more money on kicks and all this stuff. So like um that was a heavy LeBron's era and stuff like that. I got a crazy story about that. Um Dunks, Forces, of course, Air Maxes,
mhm.
crazy about 97s back then. 95s were a staple. That was before I got into my ones, pushing sevens and fives, heavy fours, threes.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it was a good time.
Damn, how did you afford all these kicks?
Yeah. Honestly, like just stacking and getting money on the side with things,
Mhm.
like, and won't get into everything, but like, just however I could go about getting some bread, like that's what I was doing, and I would hold on to my money. That's what I was doing for it, man. So like, and when my parents could help out from here and there, they definitely did.
So, I mean, taking that into like now, like, is that your hustle mentality? That's where it comes from. Like, was it honed in high school?
Oh yeah, I mean, my mom was a hustler. Like she was big to make moves and make things happen
Mhm.
and bring things to life and flip bread and stretch bread and all that stuff. So like, that's where a lot of that came from for me and developed for me to be able to do so much of that, to just look at, to build a different type of hustle. And I think she got that from her father and her mother.
Mhm.
And they just passed it down to me.
Damn.
I got my
Like,
creative stuff from my pops. I got my hustle from my mom.
geez, that's like the perfect, like you got the perfect melding right there. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, I feel like a lot of people who are creative, like the hustle part is like you have to like learn it. It's like you
Yeah.
get shot down a trillion times, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, having the hustle first before. I mean, I don't know when you start getting into your creative side.
I mean, so my father's a musician,
Hmm.
and he was a jazz he is a jazz drummer. So as a kid, that's what I watched him do, and I tried to get into music and do like him, and then some other stuff in production, some other type of stuff. So that creative aspect was there first, and then from there it like dabbled into other things. But for me, what actually happened was 2014. I got into journalism
Hmm.
off the strength of sneakers. So I was writing for a friend's magazine who had a medium-sized publication, small to medium sized publication, and they wanted me to do like a lifestyle and sneaker column and talk about a couple of things for what was then first couture, because
Hmm.
sneakers started to move into couture fashion and runway in 14, and a little bit before that you started to see like high end and premium sneakers become a thing, and certain pulls from culture on the sneaker side get pulled into high end couture fashion.
Yeah.
So, I started to do that. We morphed into lifestyle. And then, due to some reasons at the magazine, with us wanting to have all original content, whether it was writing pieces or journalism pieces or visuals, because we're not as big as a complex, a hype beast, a high snob, but it's that and the third.
Hmm.
Um, we wanted to make sure if you saw one of our articles floating around, you saw different assets that would make you like, oh, let me check this out. So that's how I got into photography. From there on, in 2018, I launched my own agency after I
Mm.
left the magazine.
Damn,
And yeah, man, it's kind of been what you
that's
guys,
amazing.
yeah, have known me for now. It really has been, man. I really got to look back at it and just be like, wow, man.
Yeah, that is wild. Cause like, I mean, I work at an ad agency now. My real job, not this. Hopefully, this turns into a real job. But
There you go.
the the my real job is I work at an ad agency, and like, yeah, seeing what you've worked on versus what I worked on, I'm like, man, let me. The jealousy is there.
But nah, man, where it's funny because where you cut your teeth at, you understand certain nuances of the business is always important. So
Mhm.
I know you cherish what you're doing right now, and when you can get into the space where you can do what you want to do and have more say in what you're doing and what you're on, man, it's going to be a beautiful thing because you got to see what was right, what you would do different, what was wrong, what was this, what was that. You got to learn the scope of the business from a different standpoint, and that, I mean, just for us to be able to get in the door sometimes, how that is.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I mean, I mean, as you can tell, I'm a amazing talker. Like
Mm,
if you get me in the interview, we chopping it up, and you probably gonna
right.
give. I'm gonna leave with an offer after that. But
There you go.
but it's the. I mean, as like I don't know if you remember back in the day, but like where they would be like, you gotta like, your names. I don't know if it was like the trend of like your parents would name you an American name so that you had to like it would be easier for you to get jobs on your resume and stuff like that. Oh man. So
Oh
like yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like my parents were just like, nah, he's gonna be what he is. Like he's gonna figure it out. But like um that I'm glad we've kind of moved past that, amongst other things. Like,
Hmm.
that I've been big on that myself, to where like, I show up to meetings, I won't have a Nia Long t-shirt on per se, but I'm not necessarily coming to a lot of meetings in business casual or even fully business anymore, because it's basically you're gonna accept me and us, how we are. Like, I've been blessed to be able to walk on a lot of red carpets
Hmm.
in the last year, the premieres and all these events, and some of this stuff has been black tie, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna give y'all streetwear chic, and I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pull up in a t-shirt. I'm not gonna disrespect. I'm gonna look great on this carpet, and it's not just to be defiant, but it's more so like, we've had to shrink ourselves for so long in so many spaces that I'm just
Hmm.
like, for me, as somebody that certain people look to, and I have something I appreciate. I just don't want them to show. I don't want to show them or make them feel like they have to conform just to be accepted in these rooms.
Yeah. That's a big thing because the idea of like the added pressure of conforming on top of trying to do your job instead of you
Yep.
being like I can be myself and not have to worry about like worry about my back. Somebody's after me because they're thinking I dress a certain way and
Right.
such, right? And then you just do your job well, and you know that your work is showing your worth, and that you are a viable employee, such and such. But I think the idea of just trying to like hide yourself is in any facet of your life, I think is too detrimental for you to, because then it stunts your growth.
Of course it does.
You're so worried about following this plateau that people have created, that in the corporate structure, instead of just being like, yo, we can just be ourselves and be creative, or be, as good as what we do and or what we went to school for, and not have to worry about that stuff. So yeah, I totally get that.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact.
I went recently. I went to the office because I mean, mostly my job's work from home. But like,
Mhm.
I went into the office and my boss was like, the big boss came in, and I was wearing I was the only one in the office with a Supreme shirt. I had the Supreme shirt, the big undercover joint with the
Yeah.
SUP, like,
Yeah.
and I was just like, man, I was like, am I like out of place right now? And everybody was just like, man, how's it going? I was just like, okay.
That's the thing. We get so much in our head trying to be like, and it's not our fault. It's
Hmm.
because, like, certain things have been done or we've been handled a certain way over time and through time. Like, so he walks around his house in t-shirts. He's walking around on Saturday. He, she, they, whomever is walking around in whatever. Like, it's not. Don't act like you ain't never seen a t-shirt. And at the end of the day, if the assets, if the project, if I made the deadline, if bottom line is good, if we're in the black, if we're in the green, or and lucky enough to be in the black,
Hmm.
listen, if we're profitable and everything's good, and I'm like, I'm not forward facing right now. Don't even do that to me.
No,
Like, don't
yeah.
do that to me. Like.
Facts, facts. I'm definitely curious about like, how did you get your start in sneaker journalism? Like, what made you, what was like that first, like, you were like, all right, let me just start blogging, or was it just like?
So a little bit, so I was running this part of the story I've actually never really told. When we were doing the music thing as a collective group, one of the sides I was on, beyond production and stuff like that, was we actually had an outlet. We had a little blog and stuff like that where we would talk about, and it was the smartest thing ever. We would talk about other people's music,
Hmm.
talk about, like, different models, different fashion things, different things in tech. We talk about different sneaker releases and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then we'd slip in stuff about our own music too. So, like, it was like all this stuff you naturally see, naturally see, naturally see, naturally see, plug in this random group,
Hmm.
like, right here. So that's why we built it and did it. But that's what it started as. Then, like, my friend that I was speaking to was kind of just like, yo, we're expanding the magazine.
Hmm.
If you know anybody that does some of this stuff. And I was like, yo, I used to write a little bit. It was like, for real? And then, like, yo, let me see something. Sent over some pieces. He was like, yo, we want to get into sneakers. We want to get into more lifestyle stuff instead of just talking about high end fashion. We want to get into sports and entertainment and film and this and TV shows and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And we want to talk about, other fashions other than high end fashion. So, like, it gave me the space to be able to talk about that. So it was just like everything aligning in a weird conversation because you wouldn't have expected it to happen either.
No, yeah, that you took a chance on yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys, all you guys took a chance of yourself. I mean, the
yeah.
collective took a chance of themselves, and it was like I don't know if it was that the height of the blog era rap height.
Nah, that was actually probably on the backside of it, to
Mm.
be honest. So, like, when we were putting and plugging in our own stuff, it was around the time it was generating. But like I said, this was probably 14. So, like, blog era slowed down for
Yeah,
sure, probably around like what, 11 or 12 or something like
yeah,
that.
11 or
Yeah, so
12. Yeah.
yeah, 11 or 12. So this was 14, and on that side, they were already established as a magazine. So they were
Hmm.
actually a magazine and did quarterly prints. They dropped down and doing quarterly prints. And then by the time I got there, they did biannually that first year in 14, and then 15 on, it was all digital. So they were already a magazine.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be a guy that was blogging at a time that slipped into that. So, like, just got
Well,
lucky.
what was the trajectory after that? You was after the magazine.
Oh man, so I mean, once I got into the magazine, I went from being a contributor to a writer to an editor to executive editor. So like I worked my way up the ladder on that side and was handling everything on the written and editorial side, while other people on the team handled uh, video side. So this is before we had so much forward facing content and
Mm-hmm.
correspondence with different people and people having shows and stuff like that. They were doing like full length interviews, almost like docu series, like interview
Oh,
style,
okay.
45 minutes to an hour and a half with certain people, and doing special release interviews like on some 2020 stuff. I could curse freely, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, on some like 2020 shit.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what they did. I just had to, just making sure.
No, no, no. It's always funny when somebody asks because I'm like, yeah, man. What's the last time you heard a
Yeah.
podcast that you can't curse on?
Hey, it's like, yo, nah, that's not my bag. That's not my audience. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. I want to be
Listen,
respected.
this podcast is only for Christians. Like we stick. This is just on the Jewish network. Like like
Listen,
just
that's a fact. I'm not
yeah,
trying to pull up like that one scene in what movie was that? The Ladies Man, Leon Phelps. They gave him the
hmm
Christian rock station.
yeah.
Went on there and start tripping out. Like I ain't trying to lose it. So definitely. So I was focused on everything that was related to editorial. They were taking care of everything that was on the video side.
hmm
And so from there, it was kind of just building a lot of relationships with a lot of the brands, attending a lot of the activations and events. Um, one of the moment I kind of felt like I was doing something. So I'm not gonna say like the moment I knew I made it, but the moment I
hmm
felt like I was doing something was when Nike announced the NBA partnership. So
hmm
when they first announced the NBA partnership, they flew out a global set of people of like 75 people. They flew out like 50 people from New York, and they had like 75 to 100 people come from LA. I was a part of that 50
Oh snap! Okay.
that came from New York that they
Yeah.
brought out to LA. And Travis Scott performed for us, or this like weird room of media, like 250 people in it. Travis Scott performed like that's right after the first album, before he had the collab and all that stuff with
hmm
them. Then we all got a chance to like interview a star athlete from every NBA team
Jeez.
as they unveiled the official partnership. So like this ain't a collab, we're talking partnership. Of course, like this was probably hundreds of thousands to maybe a mil or so invested in this weekend of a trip that we did. I actually got I part I leave out of that story too. I actually got a chance. That's when I first met Don C and interviewed Don C
Oh snap.
that weekend. So like, yeah, that was a big weekend. That was a
Yeah.
moment. Yeah,
Well,
like
I'm very curious. What were you wearing at that? Like, you got to become super correct to that. Like,
oh yeah. So the funny part is I brought out white navy LeBron twos,
hmm
and this is whatever year that is. That may be 16. So like this is when nowhere near a retro was on the radar.
right.
They gave us some shoes that week, and I can't remember which shoes they gave us. I No, in fact, I do know which shoes they gave us that weekend. They gave us the I got samples. That's when Ronnie Fogg and Kith was doing the Nike collabs, the
hmm
first batch. So up tempo was the pony hair, black red. Up tempo. What is
Yeah,
that? 96? Was that 97?
I think it might be. It's the one with the lines on it, right?
One with the lines. Yeah, one with the lines. So
Let me
black
see.
black pair. They got those as a sample. With the pony hair on it that weekend. I'm trying to remember what other shoe I brought out there. I know I brought some craziness. Like I can't really
Mm,
remember, but I know me and Don C had a long conversation about tools because I
yeah.
was I was always down with tools, and I told him like, yo, the respect I got for you for like choosing the two, and this is when the blue pair and the cream pair were already out, but
hmm
he hadn't released the Arctic orange pair yet, and I was like, yo, like enough people don't appreciate the tools. We were talking about like the Ben tools. I have a pair of Ben tools, like craziest leather. He talked about the leather quality on those.
hmm
I was like, yo, you need to drop a burgundy too. Um, the same way that they did with those. And then like a year and a half later, I think the deconstructed ones came out and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That. I mean, I think he owes you royalty now or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, nah, man. Every time I see him, it's love. And I talk to him like, yo, remember this? Anything? Nah, I remember. And I'm like, all right, yo. Yeah, I done
how many,
did something, you know. I made
how,
it.
how many times can you nudge to get a pair? Like, yo,
Like, listen, so shoot, you know how it goes with Nike, man. Like they
yeah.
got to get to that point with certain samples or look sees or one of ones and stuff like that. Like maybe one day, maybe one day.
Nah, or you can just complain on TikTok or whatever DJ Khaled was complaining on, and then you have J Balvin or Don C roll up to you and take him off his feet and give him to you.
See, that's the thing. Like, yeah, I'm a 13, so I saw you at
Yeah,
13.
I'm a
I'm
13.
not that lucky. Somebody giving them off my feet, they just gonna sit in a case or go to somebody else around the crew that they fit because that's not gonna be much for me. Like, I may have to run into who's a famous 13.
A famous
Uh,
13.
I think
Uh, PJ
uh,
Tucker. PJ Tucker's
PJ. Mm,
he's the most famous 13,
yeah,
basically, is all
he
the
is.
sneakers.
Yeah, yeah. Me and PJ actually did in 2020. We did a I was part of the sneaker rotation joint between like me, him,
hmm
John Morant, talking about like, yo, what kicks are you going to right now? Show some of your collection
Yeah.
and this at a third. So I was lucky enough to do that with him, but I need to find those content pieces. Nobody ever sent them to me.
Oh damn! I mean, where? Oh well, we'll offline it. Maybe I can find them for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I think
the
it was Foot Inc. I think it was when everybody was doing live. So I think
yeah
it was one of them situations. Yeah.
the I mean, being able to like go to these events and stuff like that, is there like one besides the Nike one that stands out where you're just like, man, I can't believe it. Like this is I'm actually here.
Two,
Okay.
actually. So one thing I always like to say is like, yo, everything that I've done right now and being able to work with certain people and work outside of the sneaker space has all come from sneakers. Like at the end of the day,
hmm
I was just a kid that loved sneakers and it's all blossomed from that. But the two, that stand out far more than anything else was 2 years ago I attended the Met Gala, party and afters and all that stuff. So
hmm
like, being able to be at some of the official Met Gala events as just transparently somebody that fucks with sneakers is
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like, that was crazy. But the one, as it goes to like work stuff. So when the Grammys were in New York,
hmm
um, I attended the Grammys in New York and didn't just like I'm not in music. That was crazy. And
hmm
I was around for the Elton John honors.
Oh
And the
wow.
funny part is like they gave him the lifetime award and
hmm
they did a special joint for him. And I was there and Elton John is 2 rows in front of me. Nile Rodgers is sitting to the left of me. Sam Smith is a row in front of me. Anna Kendrick's like off to the left. I'm sitting around like a bunch of legends in music, and it was weird because they were like, yo, we're gonna put you here because we got this one-off seat right here. I'm like, all right, where is it? It was like middle of the house, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm looking around, and I was like, nah, like like yo, like Nile Rodgers. If y'all don't know, like look up Nile Rodgers and all
Mhm.
the records and everything, and Daft Punk and Earth, Wind and Fire and all these people and
Legendary.
legendary and producing for so many records, um, writing and producing for so many different records and people. Like Nile Rodgers is monster, like monster of a legend. Being 2 rows behind Elton John, like literally sitting there and he's looking back and all this stuff. Like that was completely different experience. So that Grammy one is something I'm always going to cherish and remember.
Man, that's wild. Like to be there, like it's always something. It's always weird because like you an award show is like a crazy experience because I mean I've never been to one, but just watching him on TV
Mm,
and then being part of it, I feel like or being in the crowd as you
yeah.
see it transcribe and all that stuff. It's
Yep.
just it definitely feels like a once in a lifetime like moment, you know.
Oh, for sure. And for sure. I mean, there's that. Um, I ended up at Michael Jordan's birthday party one year.
What? How'd that happen?
We crashed like straight up and down. Nobody at Jordan be mad. Y'all saw me there. Y'all know what's up. Y'all love me. We crashed is what happened. So his birthday in Charlotte. Me and a few people. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna say no names to get them in nothing, but we ended up slipping in through one of the side doors when somebody was taking a break and just weaved through the back, and then we was partying with everybody at Nike and Mike for his birthday at the All Star Weekend in Charlotte. So I've hosted All Star Weekend, I've hosted Complex Con, I've done this, I've done that, had a show, all that stuff, and yeah, now I'm on the other side of crafting a lot of what you guys see going forward versus
Mhm.
being the forward face. So like, I'm enjoying that.
No, yeah. I mean, you're putting out like some top. Your last what was the last concert you posted? I mean, the Smino stuff was crazy. I saw that and
Yeah,
I was very excited. I mean, hopefully you'll be at the Run the Jewels concerts. I mean,
we'll
I'll
see.
pray because I'll be there. I'm gonna be there. All
That'd be
four
dope.
days, I'll be there.
Dope.
But like, I definitely want to see. Hopefully, you do that because I want to see what you do with that. But your team is definitely just like because like to me, I'm gonna tell you, like I took photography in college, and so
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you, this is like the most downest moment because I thought I was doing something, and a professor told me I wasn't. So I took photography, and I was like, all right,
Mhm.
I'm a big music head. I'm gonna go to a bunch of concerts, and I'm gonna just make a book. A photography book because the final was just make a photo book, and I just
Yeah.
did all the concerts I went to, and I was just like, I took like all these crazy pictures, put them all black and white. I toned it up so that everything is concise and like when you flip through
Yep.
it, like it looks
Yep.
sick. The professor pulled up that book. He was just like, I mean, you did all right. Here's a B, and I was like, man, are you serious? Like,
So you know what? Like concert and show photography is such a unique art that
yeah,
like, yo, I personally want to, if you still got that book, if you were willing to share that book, I'd love to see that book.
I do.
But definitely fuck that professor straight up and down. That's my words. Don't let nobody shit on nothing in that capacity. Like, especially when art can be very subjective, especially concert photography. So nah, man, kudos to you for that. Like that's something that's on my list of things that I want to do is put together a book of some of my work. And the fact that you did that and you had a plan for it around live shows, which aren't easy to get to and get your camera in and put shots together and frame properly and capture certain moments, man. Fuck that professor. Like
No, yeah,
wholehearted.
yeah, for real. I think that it's a tough job because like I have a couple friends. I'm friends with a band, the Oxymorons, and so like
Mm,
wherever their photographers are trying to get pictures, it's wild because they don't have the press pit. It's just
okay.
regular shows, so they're fighting the crowd just to get pictures. I'm like, man, and this stuff comes out crazy. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know how you
Been
do it.
been there before, man. Like, yeah, certain venues don't always have a press pit, and you gotta either you get there early, get out there early, or
Hmm.
security helps you out and they can walk you through certain lines if you slip in through the back door or a side door, stage left or stage right, they can help you out. But if they can't, you're literally like holding your camera up, like, yo, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. I'm trying to get to the front. I got to shoot. And it kind of gets a little messed up because like people paid to be there a certain experience. Plus, I'm tall. I'm 6'6", so like it's normally the short people that are in the front of this at
Yeah.
the stage. Like I'll fuck up somebody's show experience in a heartbeat, and I always try to keep that in mind even when I'm in the pit. So yeah, man. Like yeah.
Well, what's your go-to sneaker for? Because like I feel like you're doing a lot of, you got to move around and stuff. You got to be comfortable for that. So like, what is your
Oh yeah.
go-to sneaker for that?
If you ask me, I'll say the perfect shoe to shoot concerts in, Kobe's.
Kobe's.
Kobe's. Because I know that whole basketball shoe and pant era was wild for a lot of people, but Kobe's can still be worn properly.
Yeah.
Kobe's one of the few that can still be worn properly. So like anything from the Kobe 4 to the 8, I think is a perfect shoe for shooting shows.
Hmm.
Traction, durability, ankle support is still fly. It's low, it's lightweight, perfect shoe.
Man, you bringing me back with the
Yeah,
basketball era. Like,
yeah, yeah.
do you remember they try to make like KD lifestyles? The
Yes, I
those joints.
still have. Yeah, I have one pair of those. Not the polka dot joints, not
I
none of those.
knew. I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
I was gonna
hell no,
ask. Those
never.
those are the
No,
worst. Those sat.
yeah, yeah, those were terrible. That brown pair, which with like the straps on the side, which was
Oh
like the
yeah,
high, yeah, that kind of gave you like a
like a
blazer feel.
yeah. They
Yeah,
were
I
like all
had.
leather. I think it was. It was like all
No,
leather.
those are suede. Those
Oh,
are
okay,
suede.
suede.
The leather ones that are kind of like that. There was a LeBron lifestyle that was like
Hmm.
that. I've still never wore them, but I have them, and because I'm like, oh, I could put this on if I wanted to go to a carpet or some type of.
Yeah,
It's a basketball shoe, but it's a little bit stepped up that I can pull it off in another situation. I
those are
know
that.
David Stern. Oh,
I was I
we
was
about
gonna
to say
say I was gonna say I know those came out the same time the corks came out, and like if you don't
right,
wear the corks, them joints
right.
is folding on you right now.
Yeah, yeah. I got the corks. My corks are good. I wear those in certain situations. Like I can't front. Like David Stern had uh folks in a blender with those rules as
Hmm.
far as how you had to dress and what you had to wear. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, thank God we are where we are
Oh
right now.
man, the it felt like you were just watching people in basketball players in suits every day. You're like, come
Listen,
on.
oh my God. And when it wasn't suits, it was like short sleeve button ups, button to the top. And everybody was wearing like the cosmetic glasses at that time. So
Hmm.
people didn't even need glasses. You had LeBron and Harden and KD and Russ, and everybody was like, "Yeah, I got these fake glasses on. They're not prescription. I just want to look smart and shit." Like it was a crazy
You
time.
got no lens in them, man. Get out of here
Not
with
no lens. Like, what are you
that.
doing, bro? Like, come on, cut it out.
the it was that, and then they also had the because this was the 808s and heartbreaks days, so they had they had the pin of the like
Yeah,
plastic beads melted and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Oh man, that
yeah.
was
Everybody's
wild.
rocking pen. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Let's talk about that. Like that's something. Hey, like when you see somebody, if you bump it, yo, what was you doing around this time? Like what was talk to me? Who told you this was okay?
Who broke your heart? Who broke your heart,
Right.
man?
You know,
Because
crazy.
no way you should be listening to 808 and Heartbreak on repeat, and then for you to feel influenced to go out get a gray suit with a red tie
Yeah, yeah. Listen,
and a
skinny
bead.
in a bead and a skinny fitted suit with a skinny tie, man. It was
Hmm.
a wild time. Like it was a wild time.
Kanye had mad people in the chokehold with that.
Right.
Immediately
You
jumped
know,
from that into the Roshi run craze, and then
right.
and then it was the all red everything because everybody was just like
I
gotta
hated
have
that run. I hated
red.
that run. I actually like to this day, I probably own like three and max, and at the max time may have been five, and maybe
Hmm.
it's down to two, and I think I have two more than I actually do. All red shoes, can't. Like just can't. Like, no, I was never with it. Like
Were
never.
you? Did you fall into the super phase in high school at all?
No. No, no. Supers was after I was out of high school. I
Oh,
had
okay,
one
okay.
pair. So that was like freshman year of college. I had one pair. Maybe it's like the sky top fours or something like that, where they blatantly looked like the Yeezy two, but
Uh
yeah, no, not me. I was
huh.
not. I would nah. And I wore them like once. I was like, yeah, I'm not wearing this. I'm not wearing this, dog.
The
Like,
it was that I don't know if because you went to school in Jersey, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Creative Rex made it to Jersey.
Oh, of
Oh,
course,
they
not
did, they
Creative Rex.
did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, so that was a different era. Creative Rex had a purpose.
Yeah.
So you had to wear Creative Rex when they had you dress in business casual to go to the club. So the
Hmm.
real reason, like I said, I said all that stuff about trying to show up as yourself. The real reason why I won't show up in business casual anywhere is because I'm traumatized from when they had us in suits and in hard denim and button up shirts in the clubs back in the day, looking insane with Bluetooths in our ear. That's what really happened. That's
Man, I had the ill Mecca shirt for that, man. I had
listen, nah,
the Mecca button down, man. Button down.
listen. The materials they put on those button downs should not have been button downs. Like the rock, like I blame Jay Z. I was talking about this earlier, like
Hmm.
with somebody. I was like, yo, Jay Z has been responsible for so many wild fashion trends from a guy that's not that fashionable. And people was like, what? And I was like, yo, everybody was wearing like striped button ups and weren't tucking them into
Hmm.
denim,
Hmm.
like uh, um,
With the oversized fitted.
so yeah, some cats was tucking their ears in the fitted,
Oh
and then
my
don't
god.
forget the hard denim. Like people was out here in hard denim and button ups, and I'm just like, yo, that was you. Like that, like Like, yo, what do you have to say about that now? Because that was you. Like, what's going on? Like, this you, right? That was you with the hard denim looking crazy. Like,
The
I was
size
like,
42s.
yeah, crazy, like boot cut denim at that, which was just we ain't deserve that.
No, man. I mean, my time definitely, like, I don't know how I made it through summers with the super baggy shorts. Like, I used to have the shorts all the way down and I only bought because, I mean, I was only able to get like one or two pairs a year. So
Mhm.
I was like, all right, cool. Let me just keep it cheap. So I buy black Uptowns
Yep.
and then with the long shorts and then like some Fat Farm, and you just call it a day after
Yeah.
that.
Listen, I mean, that was a wild era, and also, like, I mean, we talk about it now as a community. Basketball shorts under the denim was a
Oh my
wild time
god.
too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yo, being
yeah.
always ready. Like, yo, you don't have to go hoop. Yo, you don't. Like, you was ready. You was snapping out. You were pushing down denim like you were getting subbed in a game. It's crazy. Like, yo, bro, you're not getting. Coach ain't calling you in. Like, what's going on? Why are you always ready on a 5v5, my G? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, cut that out. Cut that out.
Nobody's gonna ask you to hoop in the middle of the day.
At all. At all, dog.
Like, yo, you try to go ball right now? Like,
Yo, what? Like,
I
yo,
was
I'm
I,
actually,
I was definitely in the basketball shorts with the
of course,
and
everybody was. I knew cats that was coming from job interviews. Like, nah, I'm ready. Like, you ain't got to go home. It's like, nah, like, yo, I just put in this application back when you had to put in applications in the physical. I just put in this application. I'm ready. I got next. Like, nigga, chill. Like, yo,
looking like Jet Jackson on
right.
the.
Like, like, yo, wait for them to call you back. You make it the job, chief. What are you doing? Like, that's nice, bro.
Man, that was definitely a wild time. For me, it was
Definitely.
like I don't know why it made sense to me, but it was never to ball. It was in
Right.
case somebody stole my pants, but no one
That's just,
ever stole my pants. So
listen,
so I have no reason.
the question about that is like, what trauma happened around you? Like, who did you see get their pants stolen? Like, damn, they stole Jamal pants, bro. Like, you got that, what? They stole his,
They
oh,
stole everything. They stole his pants.
listen, they stole his pants? The pants?
He
I
had
mean, I,
he
nah,
had some garba. He had some garba jeans. I forgot to say it. Garbo.
the Jabot joints?
Gerbo. Yeah,
Yeah, Jabot with the straps on them. Yeah,
yeah.
listen, I done seen cats denim get stolen and then swapped with like trash, like Parasuco. Like, yo, I'm taking these and leaving you with these. Like, that's what you're gonna have now. So like, it was different times. Like, I know I feel for kids now in certain capacities, but what we had to grow up in was completely different. Like,
Nah, the kids now is crazy. They're just going to
yeah,
school in essentials, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we good."
we good. Yeah,
The whole class.
back then, like you couldn't even if something was like from the previous season, you couldn't have that. Like, yo, you had on last year's Echo or
Hmm.
Fubu when that was shaking, or Rockaware or Sean John or Polo, or yo, his polo is USPA polo and that ain't
Hmm.
Ralph. Now, man, so it's oh my God.
Or somebody pulls up with the Carl Kanais, and you like, "Nah,
Oh,
man, you gotta
nah,
go."
that listen, that's your
Those-
older cousin age. You couldn't be out here in the Carl Kanaj, but you doing it wrong, bro. I mean, I remember a few cats was on like even going back to that polo era was wild too. Kanye
Mhm.
had folks in a blender with
Yeah,
that and
with
collars up. Like
the double polo.
that
Kanye
was
had people in the
insane.
double polo.
Things that made no sense. And all you could do, and this is what was wild too, you could only rock polo, Ralph Lauren polo,
Hmm.
or Le Tigre. Le
Yeah.
Tigre was acceptable. But the crazy part about both of those, Izod out of all those, and like thank God they had the Izod Center after a while. The people was like, yo, Izod got money.
Hmm.
Um, Izod had colors.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so like if you know Ralph and you know the Tigre, they're not gonna put out certain colors. They're gonna stick to certain traditional colors.
Hmm.
Izod was dropping like, yo, we're gonna give y'all peach and lavender and all
Hmm.
these summer spring tones. So I know a few cats that was walking around in the Izod polos with the layers on, covering up the logo. Like, nah, chill, don't do me like that. Like, nah, you can't see what this is. Don't do that. That
I mean,
was
I mean, the flex would have been you put the Izod under the. If you're doing the double polo, is what I'm saying. You do
listen.
the double polo. You do the polo. You do the polo on top. You do that Ralph on top. Then you do the Izod under. You just
That
keep
is a layer. I
just keep it
mean,
going, keep it moving. After that, nobody's gonna
you,
stop
you
you.
got a point, but like that double collar, because you still had an undershirt, you still had a tee on and an undershirt under that. So like you
hmm
had four shirts on, and it was like May. Like yo, bro, like heat
60,
stroke is
60,
real.
70. Yeah, you
Right,
on
like
you on
nah, yo,
34th Street. You like I'm going to
right,
Jimmy Jazz real quick.
like no, you not. If you make it, you make it off the train, dog. It's supposed to be 90 out. Like, nah, man, that's when they had the Sears commercial. Like, it's gonna be another scorcher. Like, yeah, like you gonna pass out on the steps, God. Like, that's not happening. Like, come on, man.
Oh man. I mean, you mentioned it. I definitely want to hear this LeBron story. What was the LeBrons?
So my sophomore year, the LeBron 3 came out.
hmm
And I mentioned this story recently to somebody, and it was like, yo, that's insane. Um, So everybody remembers East Bay catalogs,
Of
RIP East
course.
Bay.
R.I.P.
If you played, you played any sports, you know what time it was with them. Um, so there was a funny time in sneakers like pre 2015, maybe. Because even like how Nike is now, you used to be able to call
hmm
Nike over the phone, place orders, and they would actually route you to local stores that had the order and do a fulfillment from the store
hmm
wherever you were in the country. So you used to be able to call up Nike when Nike.com was out of stock, and they would place you on the phone with a store. Oh, we're gonna put you in Oregon, Missouri, this and the third. They're gonna place the order and fulfill it from there. Which is wild. eBay, same thing. Place your phone order. So my story with that was this is back when they still drop shoes by region. So,
hmm
there's certain exclusive releases now that you see will be Europe only or this and the third only. But we used to have it domestic here where, if everybody remembers, I want to say the Jordan 20, one with the strap, the ankle strap,
Yeah.
they dropped East region, a West region, like a
hmm
North and a South, like the red one, the blue one, the yellow one, and I can't remember the other color. Um,
Ginger. Was it ginger?
Yeah, yeah. The ginger's the yellow one. There's the red one. There's the sky blue one. And was there a fourth color?
I think maybe it was it bread?
Right. I
It's-
know. Yeah, Brett. Yeah, because the Brett ones are still clean, and then the laser joints was alright too. That's a
yeah.
slept on shoe. It's strictly
See,
for the summer, but that's a slept on shoe.
East is chutney. Uh, West is coastal blue.
Yep,
Red would be probably up top, right?
I think
Midwest. Oh,
Midwest.
and then South. Oh, I don't know. Maybe all either the maybe the white with red and black,
Okay,
white red.
okay, that makes sense. But same thing with the LeBron threes that year. So he was on the Cavs. The East edition was the black and crimson pair.
hmm
The West edition was the white and gold pair. So I called up East Bay and I had to call a couple of times and I was like, yo, hey, I'm looking for this shoe, but I can't seem to find it to get it here. And I was playing stupid. I was playing naive and I was still in high school when this happened, of course, like I was a sophomore. And I got somebody on the phone. She was so sweet. And she was like, yo, I was like, it was around my birthday, so it was accurate. I was like, yo, this is a birthday present. I'm dying to get these shoes. I'll do whatever I got to do to get these shoes. It's
hmm
like, hold on for a second. Calls back. She's like, yo, I got somebody in a store in California, or in a warehouse in California that'll write a label for it to go to your address in Jersey.
hmm
So you're gonna get the shoes. You just gotta pay for the shipping and pay the little extra for shipping and pay their tax. I was like, say less. So I ended up having. I was the only person on the East Coast that I knew that had the white and gold pair, which is the West Coast pair, and I had
Yeah,
the black and red crimson pair. So like that was a moment. That was like one of my flexes back then. Like, yeah.
that's wild. Like, what is like? How do you go to school and be like, y'all know what these is, or like what like?
Yo, they knew, but they was like, yo, where you get those? Like, yo, I was like, bro, can't tell you. I gatekeep the shit out of that for like the majority of that school year. And then somebody was like, yo, what happened? After they weren't in the catalogs, I was like, yo, so what I did was call up. It was like, oh, that was mad smart. I should have did that. And I was like, Oh, well, you can't now because they ain't around no more.
Yeah, they're
But
gone.
they're gone. I'm sorry, it's nothing you can do.
It's funny you mentioned about that because like I was thinking about just sneaker culture in a whole and like
Mm,
I think now a lot of these content creators are talking about how people are gatekeeping stuff and
yeah.
but I mean like the like sneaker culture started from gatekeeping. Like people are not
Oh yeah.
understanding this. Like I remember like finding a pair and being like, "Oh, where'd you get those?" And I'll be like, "Listen, man, I got lucky one time. Like, I just walked in, and you just like, and then that was
Listen,
it. After that, you just that's it."
that's a fact. I mean, it's the way the old New York used to be about little shops and spots that were
Hmm.
authentic, that were off in the cut. It's like, oh, yo, if you go down this block and then like go down a little further before you get here, you're gonna see a sneaker store, but sometimes they ain't always open. It don't look like a sneaker store, but it's really a sneaker store, and it's like, what? And but if you go back to the days like, yeah, I mean, when Nike Talk in the forums was heavy, you
Hmm.
had to know people in certain places. I mean, I've heard Clark Kent talk about stories, and people talk about stories like, yo, when I wanted certain shoes, we used to drive down to DC or go to
Right.
Baltimore, go here, and we would come back up here, and people would be like, yo, where the fuck did you get them from? For
Hmm.
certain stuff that wasn't released in certain places, and we'd be like, nah, yo, I can't put you up on that. So it's been a thing for a time, man. Like you can be real about it. Like I'm all for the inclusive culture now,
Right. Yeah.
but like sophomore, nah, beat it. Nah, not nobody. Because right now I'm a similar way where I don't like seeing people in the stuff that I'm in. So like it's something about it because people be wearing stuff wrong and I hate that.
No,
It's
yeah.
like
I mean, no, I get that.
yeah,
It's a culture, and I think people forget
yeah.
that, right? I
Oh
think
yeah.
that now it's so easily accessible because before, even like online, it was like hours of digging. You would spend
Yeah.
hours digging for something that you were looking for,
Yep.
and now it's so, oh, I could just go on Go. I want a pair of
Right.
like some old DQM Air Maxes from, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
before that, like it was on the forums. You had to look. If not,
Yep.
you would hear stories. Like I heard the story of like you had to go to like DQM during a Wednesday, and sometimes Dave would put out a pair, like like stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
now we don't get none of that. We don't get none of that.
Nah. I mean the last moment I had was probably 14, maybe 2014,
Hmm.
where I got in a relationship with somebody that worked at one of the stores. They had one of the stores in LA was only physical location, but they had their warehouse.
Hmm.
And we would talk about certain things. And he would tell me, because this used to happen. Um, after a while, inventory got caught up. So like people would like, oh, we forgot we had a pair of these. So I would have this dude periodically check, like, yo, what 13s, 12 and a half, 14s do you have that like are shoes that shouldn't be there?
Hmm.
I copped a crazy amount of shoes. It's like, yo, I remember like because they just dropped now. So the last time they dropped, if I'm not mistaken, was 2012. And one of my locals
Hmm.
in 2016, I want to say, I walk in there one day to check on something. He was like, yo, I was waiting for you to come in. I got something for you. I was like, what is it? He pulls out a Jordan box. He's like, yo, look at the price. I think it was 145.
Hmm.
In 2016, no retros were going for 145. That was the 2012 price or some
Yeah.
shit like that. It was maybe 150. It was a pair of Cardinal sevens.
Damn. Okay.
In 2016,
Hmm.
he was like, yo, somehow they were under a bunch of boxes. They got put in a box. Like, I got a dead stock pair. I was like, how much are they? He was like, nah, I gotta sell them to you for that sticker price. I was like, wait, you gotta sell them to me for 150?
Okay.
I said, nah, I'll take them. Like, so I like in my those I picked up the retros when they re-came out again, but
Hmm.
those are still super clean, warm enough that they're not gonna give nothing like that. But like Cardinal 7, one of my favorite sevens. So like one of my favorite Jordans, to be honest. Um,
It sucks that they didn't get that love this time around, though.
I am a-okay with that. Y'all ain't gotta like them. I will have them and rock them, and y'all ain't gotta fuck with them. Like I don't see people going crazy about sevens now, even though they're one of the most comfortable Jordans in my opinion. That Hirachi liner is just different on those.
I agree, but my favorite is the Bordeaux. But I feel like everybody has a pair. Uh, but it's just like so. I don't know. Like you remember the time in Nike Town where it was like if you jump in on a raffle or whatever, you'd have to make the line and such. Like you'd get
Yeah.
chosen on Twitter.
Yep.
So there was one time. I won the Raptor sevens back in 2013 or whatever,
Hmm. Yeah,
uh, and I was just like, nah, I don't want them. But like that haunts me because now I do want them. So
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
damn. But I did get the Bordeaux sevens when they dropped. I still have
yeah,
them,
yeah.
and it's just like that colorway for me. It's so unique. It's like that smoke gray with the
Yep.
purple with it, and you're just like, I'm just like, man, this shoe is freaking classic. But yeah, like you said, it's super comfy. I've never had a
Oh yeah.
problem with it. Yeah,
Never.
it's slept on. I definitely think it's a slept on model.
Yeah. I mean, for me, favorite colorway of the seven is the pearl ceramic sevens.
Gross.
So
I'm gonna have to look that one up because I'm.
yep, those came out around the same time as the Orions. But the pearl ceramic sevens, the what's the Pacific sevens, pearl ceramic sevens, whichever one you want to call it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. These are like the, like I just call them the Knicks colorway. They look very Knicksy.
I get what you mean. I'm never gonna do that. You know, I'm never gonna do that. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, nah, yeah. So the
Like you can
Pacific
rock this.
seven,
You can rock. I mean, you can rock. All right, let's go like Los Angeles Lakers. Oh no, the blue Minneapolis Lakers colorway,
definitely,
like
definitely,
a
definitely,
French
definitely.
blue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Now those were
nah,
different.
these are
Like
dope.
those, yeah. Like and then the cream color on those because those was a lot of cream shoes weren't coming out then. So like those are that's my favorite seven hands down. And it's probably never gonna get retro. I
Never
still
say
got a pair.
never. Never say never.
I
They
mean,
got 17s coming out
they
next
got
year.
17s coming out. I never thought Lightnings were gonna come out. I never thought Thunders were gonna come back. I didn't think the LS5s were gonna come back with the burgundy, and I think they're bringing back the
Mm-hmm.
olives, original olives, which are two of my favorite fives of all time. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, like you know, those are a lot of shoes that are just like, yo, that was from an era. That's that '05 to '08, '09 run. That was just a little. It was different times.
It was definitely the times of I didn't have money for any of it. So yeah, I hate
Oh,
that. I hate
facts,
that, man. I hate that.
facts.
Like the when now because now I do have money, but now I just
Right.
want like it's tugging on the yo. Remember when these like I because I was one of
Yeah.
those kids that used to just walk into Foot Locker every day. They knew me. I just
Yep.
never bought anything. Like
That's right. Listen, I remember. I mean, because even so, then you'll probably remember. I remember when ones and dunks was it.
yeah,
Like you
all the
know, yeah,
time.
before, yeah. Come on, like you know, everybody. If you was really around sneakers, you remember when that push came back. But
Hmm.
everybody's like, nah, ones have always been a great. Oh, you didn't feel that way. You didn't feel that way, and I could tell you when you didn't feel that way because you
Yeah,
weren't wearing.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
like
It's tough. I don't. I mean, listen, I the way sneakers are now, like it's so far away from the stories that have made us want them,
right.
or the stories that we want to create in them, and so
Yep.
that's why I created this podcast. We got to bring the stories back.
There
Uh,
you go.
but as we listen, I'm segue kinging right now. But as we dwindle down to the end of the podcast, I do ask another question.
Okay.
But this one, I want you to think about that time when you're about to get your 17s, right? You're about to you're about to unlatch the suitcase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, transport yourself. You're you behind yourself. What would you tell yourself as you open up that case?
Cherish these. Um, cherish these in each and every pair. Those shoes, funny enough, actually like kind of made me change how I walked initially. Not that I'm out here walking like a duck, but even so, I'll naturally walk like you know, heel to toe first, like and still have a regular smooth stride.
Hmm.
Um, like yo, just cherish those. That's an expensive shoe. That's an investment. You put a lot of money into those. Care about those shoes, bro. Like you know, like don't. I ended up, and not even intentionally, I ended up forcibly having to hoop in them,
Hmm.
and yeah, like AAU practice. Um, I left my shoes at the hotel or when we were at nationals, and we were Adidas team, so my coach was already pissed.
Oh.
He was like, "Nah, go play in your $200 shoes. That's your basketball shoes, ain't they?" Ended up, ended up. He worked us so hard in those. I ended up messing up the soles on those,
Oh man.
which is crazy. Like through a week of practice, I messed up the soles on those, which is crazy now that I think about it. And then I ended up leaving them by accident, like in the van we rented while we were down there. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was the story of my black 17s. But like definitely
Damn.
cherish those shoes and y'all don't forget your other shoes. Don't
What
forget your
was
other
the
shoes.
numbers you put up? What's the numbers you put up in them shoes though?
That was a bad day. I was
Yeah.
pissed. I was pissed. I was trying not to fuck up my shoes. Like that wasn't the day. And he had us doing a lot of line drills, so a lot of
Uh-huh.
nines and 17s. I was doing 17s and 17, which is crazy. And if you hooped and had a coach that was in conditioning, you know about 17s, you know what I'm talking about. So
Mhm.
terrible times. Jesus. Yeah.
Oh man, yo, thank you so much, Ricky, for jumping on the podcast. And for everybody out there, you know what we say every week: wear your kicks. Peace.